Hey, good morning. This is Pastor Sue, and welcome back to Patio Ponderings. I took a break for a few weeks as we transition into a new ministry year, and we're back, and I'm really glad to be here. And we're going to call this season 2 of Patio Ponderings. I've been doing this for just over a year. Much of the format will be similar to what it has been in the past, where we look at the stories, the Bible stories that we're hearing in worship, and wonder about their connection to our daily lives and to our current world. But because Tranium is also going to take part in something called the Nourishing Vocation Project, I will be adding in or maybe replacing a few episodes now and again on a topic of vocation and purpose. Who are we called to be in the world? What are we called to do? But let's start today. Episode 1, Season 2. My patio is at church, but I am joined by my friends from Noah and his ark. This is the story that we heard in church on Sunday, and it's such a familiar story to us. For some reason, we think it's a great children's Bible story, and I've heard it so many times, and I'm sure that you maybe have a great sense of familiarity with it as well. But I heard this story in a whole new way this year. And that's what I want to, and it's really got me wondering and pondering and thinking. And part of that is because we heard the Noah's Ark story this past Sunday, which was September 11th. Some of you may or may not know that I have a personal connection with the events that happened on September 11th in 2001. My cousin Bob was on reserve duty at the Pentagon that day, and he is one of the people that lost his life there. Now, Bob is my age. He has a daughter the same age as my daughter, and Bob was a great guy. Whoa, it's windy on the ark today. Bob was a great guy who would just give you the shirt off his back. He was active in his faith. He taught Sunday school. I hear he wore a VeggieTales tie. And so much of what I heard out of the Christian voice on 9/11 was that this attack, this destruction, was somehow part of God's plan or God's message to us as an evil people. And I thought, boy, that just didn't resonate with the God that I know. And it still doesn't. And yet here we are faced with this story of Noah's Ark, in which God is fed up with people who are destructive and evil and has decided to destroy all of humanity and start again. But here's what really catches my attention. And here's where the connection is between how I'm thinking about this story and the story of 9/11. After this happens, after the flood, after the rain stops, on the other side of it, God makes a promise not to do this again. We hear in our reading that God talks about a new covenant, a new promise, 7 times in a really short passage in Genesis. And God's going to put a sign of that covenant, the rainbow, for God to remember that this isn't what God wants to do. This is not how God is going to act in the future. God will never again destroy the earth. God will never again bring flood waters. And so that really has me thinking. It sounds like God decided that's not who God is all about. It's not in God's nature to be destructive. It's not in God's nature to destroy, to take away life. God's personality, the core of who God is, God's identity, is to be a creator and a life giver. And so as we think about the tragedies and the tough things that happen in the world and in our lives, I think we need to rethink God's place in that. At the end of the Noah story, God says, that's not who I am. I'm not a destroyer. So, is it really part of God's plan that these things happen? Is there really a reason for God to make, to destroy, to affect some kind of end? I don't think so. I certainly believe, and I think the scriptural witness is there to understand that God is present in all things, that God can bring about amazing, good, and miraculous events out of terribleness, out of darkness, out of destruction. But I also think that this is the place where it starts. And there's lots of other Bible stories to reinforce this, that God is not the cause of destruction in our world. God is not the cause of evil. God is not the cause of natural disaster. Unfortunately, I think our world is random, and there is evil in the world, and bad things happen and terrible things happen. It's a deep subject. Lots to think about there. If you're interested in pondering this idea further of does everything have a reason? Is everything that happens part of God's plan? I want to commend to you a book by author Kate Bowler. It's called Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies That I Have Loved. And I'm going to put a link to that book in underneath this video here if you're interested. Love, as always, to hear what you have to think, or what you think, what you feel about this. Does everything happen for a reason? Is there a plan for everything from God, and does that include destructive, terrible things? Or is there randomness in the world? Ooh, big things to ponder, big things to think about. Have a great day, though, and we will see you Sunday, and welcome back again to this season of Patio Ponderings. Bye.